Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Fujifilm's newest addition to their camera lineup, the X-T30 Mark III, or the X-T30 version 3, or the X-T30 I don't know, whatever they're calling it. I don't have one here because it's brand new. It hasn't been released yet officially for sale. Also not 100% sure it's a camera I'm going to be buying yet or not, but it's very intriguing to me. And it may be that my next camera purchase, and I'll talk about why that's the case here in just a few minutes. But of course, some people have already had the camera in their hands and done a full technical review of it. There's plenty of videos on YouTube to go and see that. Those lucky few that get the advanced copies to play around with and maybe get invited to Japan for the grand revealings and things like that. This channel is not quite there yet, but if you hit the subscribe button down below and you hit the like button down below, which I greatly appreciate, if you're getting value out of this channel and this content in general, maybe someday we'll get those early release access points as well, and I can show you the late X-T12 or something like that they release as the successor to the X-T5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and hopefully not that long into the future, but maybe in the future I too will be in Japan or somewhere else in the world showing you the latest and greatest from the Fujifilm lineup. But for today, I just wanted to give you my initial impressions after watching a lot of those videos, after kind of looking at the specs and the content, and again thinking about is this a camera that provides value and fills a niche and fills a role for me? And specifically because I am kind of in a camera transition mode right now, which we've talked about in some other videos. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the pros and the cons in this video, but also a little bit about my thought process around why I may be interested in picking up this camera. So let's start first with some of the pros of the camera. I like the fact that this is a 26 megapixel sensor. My current Fujifilm camera that I barely use for photos anymore since I've made the transition now over to Nikon is the Fujifilm X-H2. It's actually what I'm filming this video on right now, and is kind of my go-to stay on the tripod video camera right now. It's not the best for that, as a side note, and we'll talk more about how that might influence me, whether I get this camera or some other camera here in the not too distant future. But that's my current Fujifilm camera, is the X-H2. The X-H2 has a 40 or 45, which is it? It's a 40 megapixel sensor, which is great and has great benefit to that, but also is a little bit overkill for standard stuff, especially things like street photography or stuff that I know for sure I'm just gonna post to social media. It's a little bit of an overkill as far as number of megapixels, and of course that also means storage space, processing power, etc. that comes along with that. So I like that the X-T30, I'm going to go with X-T33, I'm just going to say it that way. The X-T33 has a 26 megapixel sensor, which I think is a nice sweet spot, but it's also a sensor that, according to rumors anyway, this is the same sensor they've been using on a lot of cameras for a long time. So they know how to squeeze the best and the most out of that particular sensor already. So I think that's an added bonus. The X-T33 has a new processor, however, over the X-T32. So I think that's an added bonus and benefit to the camera. Not only can it process content more smoothly and faster, but also things like face detection, subject detection, and autofocus in general should be a lot faster than its predecessor, and should be a little bit more on par with the rest of the new lineup of Fujifilm's cameras. Although again, my biggest complaint over the last year or two about Fujifilm autofocus is that it tends to still not be great, so maybe that's one of the cons. Stay tuned, we'll find out if that's one of the cons on my list as well. Another one of the pros of this camera is that it has open gate video. Obviously, based on you watching this video and seeing this and the other content I have here on YouTube, which hopefully you're watching, is that I am creating a lot more video content these days. I think we are in a hybrid world, and also it's just something that I'm very interested in learning more about and stretching my skill set to include. So I am doing more and more video these days. So looking at some of the video specs, although for me, they can personally get very overwhelming very quickly. The fact that this shoots open gate is, I think, a plus and something that at least future-proofs the camera for me a little bit. If you're not familiar, open gate basically means that it's using the entire sensor as opposed to a cropped in version of the sensor for video capture. And what that allows you theoretically to do is not only have more data and have a bigger image, but you're also maximizing the full sensor And then you can also do some things like, there's people that like to do something called anamorphic, which is basically when you get that skinnier, narrow film kind of look to the video. And you're able to do that and still keep the quality there by having the full sensor access. Again, that's my limited knowledge on some of this stuff, but open gate, I'll put it in the pros column. And for me, the last pro of this camera is its form factor. And there's two elements to that I would just want to mention. One is the small size, as I'm looking for a replacement for my XH2 so that I can then turn around and sell that off, or continue to use it just as my go-to video camera. I'm looking for something that's small, that's portable, and that's different from my Nikon Z8. My Z8, of course, is big, it's large, it's bulky, it's awesome. I love shooting with it, I love taking it out, but there are times either when I'm traveling, when I'm doing street photography, when I just want to grab a quick camera to have with me just in case kind of stuff. I want something small, I want something lightweight, and I want something that doesn't take up a lot of room. And this camera would check all those boxes as being super small, lightweight, still have decent enough ergonomics, although from what I hear that needs a little bit of assistance. We'll talk about in the cons. But the other thing about the form factor is that it's photocentric. If you look at the XS20, you look at the X-T4, you look at the XH2 that I've mentioned I'm shooting with right now, all of those have fully articulating camera screen, or rear view screens on them. I personally hate articulating screens. They serve their purpose, especially in video, especially when I don't have an external monitor on the camera like I have right now. It's nice to be able to see yourself and to see that your shot's lined up and composed well and that it's in focus and the battery is still going and the red light's flashing that I'm actually filming and all that kind of good stuff. But when shooting photos, I absolutely hate articulating screens. I hate having to look off center in the image and look over here to try to compose. And also just the extra size that creates in the package. So again, when I looked at this camera and I saw that it had a standard flip down screen in the back, I instantly said, no, well, that's on the list as a potential, because all of the others that I have been considering with Fujifilm have articulating screens. And I love that flip down because not only is it still capable of doing low angle shots and high angle shots, but also it provides the opportunity to be stealthy if I'm doing street photography. So I can literally have that screen down flat in the back and I can hold it at waist level. I can have everything composed the way I pretty much want it, be pretending to look around and viewing the scene and taking in the world while I'm also shooting photos. And in many cases, everyone's unobtrusive and not drawing a lot of attention to yourself, which is one of the things you sometimes want in street photography. So those are some of the pros for me, at least, that I've seen in this camera and with this new release. Let's talk about some of the cons. One of the big ones for me right off the bat is the battery size. It uses the traditional smaller batteries that Fujifilm has used for years, which means the battery life is not going to be fantastic on that camera, especially if you're using that rear screen as opposed to the viewfinder on a regular basis. Also, I have sold off my X-T3, which means I also have included in that bundle all of my smaller Fujifilm batteries. So I have none. I did have like, I don't know, I think 8 batteries when I sold that camera. And some lucky soul that bought that camera got all 8 of them. So not only the battery that would come with the camera, I would probably have to stockpile another 2 or 3, maybe 4 batteries just to have as backups, or be charging while others are being used, or to as you're out and about when you know the battery's going to die on you. So I don't like that. Again, I already have a stockpile of the larger batteries that are in the XH2 that's also used in the XS20 as well. They use the larger battery. So I see that as a con on this camera. One of the other cons, in my opinion, is that this camera doesn't have a fully articulating screen. I know, I just contradicted myself. I just wanted to let that sit and go, wait a minute, he said a minute ago he hated articulating screens. And I do, but also in a small form Fujifilm camera that I can take anywhere. That might be a travel camera that I take with me when I'm packing lightly on a travel excursion like I'm going to be doing here soon. Having an articulating screen would allow me to use that as a hybrid camera, especially when shooting YouTube content at an Airbnb or at a hotel or as I'm walking around. It would open up that possibility and make it a lot easier to do that versus, say, using my cell phone to do that. So again, it's not 100% something I need because I could use my cell phone instead. And if I want this to be a photo-centric camera only for my purposes, my use, then that would be, again, a detriment. So it's a pro and it's a con. I wanted to put it on both lists. Another con for me is that it has no IBIS. I know for years and years and years and decades and 100+ years, we didn't have IBIS in cameras. So it's not a deal breaker, but it is still a con, especially in today's world. And again, as I look at something that might be a hybrid option. So for video in particular, it's nice to have that in-body image stabilization. If you're not familiar, that's what IBIS stands for, that in-body image stabilization versus lens-based stabilization. And a lot of camera companies are moving towards in-body versus in-lens stabilization, probably a cost factor and probably a design factor in some cases as well. But IBIS is really nice to have. I don't shoot a whole lot of slow motion, slow shutter speed kind of things where you would typically need. But sometimes in lower light conditions or events, or there is a use case for it. So it is kind of nice to have that to help counterbalance. And I don't have the steadiest of hands, and I know that, especially for video. So to not have to have a gimbal or to have other accessories, it's kind of nice to have that in-body image stabilization to have the smallest package possible. I don't know if this is 100% a con until I would actually have the camera and start using it, but I could foresee that one of the cons I would have would be that new film sim dial. And it's not new to this camera, the X-T30 that we're reviewing. It's been on another model of the camera as well. But I can see that as a detriment, especially because it doesn't have a locking button. I love that Fujifilm has included locking buttons on some of their dials that allows you to kind of set that setting you want, push the lockdown button, and then know that it's not going to get accidentally bumped and moved either in your bag or as you have it on a strap and you're walking around and you actually accidentally bump it and don't realize you've changed the setting. And I could see that being annoying where I would have it in a bag or I'd have it slung and it would rub up against my body or something like that, and it would change that dial very easily, therefore changing the film sim. And again, it's something that you could then easily change back, but sometimes, especially in like street photography, time is of the essence. And when you bring the camera to your eye or bring the camera up to use the rear viewfinder, you want to be able to take that photo instantly. And if that slows down that process because you now have to fiddle with that again, I could see where that could be annoying. At the same time, it could be a con, again, in real use case where if you're using a lot of film sims and you're changing a lot, especially with like I use black and white and color quite a bit, change between those two, and it is kind of a pain in the butt to go into the menu system and change that. You could put it in the quick menu. That's another quick option, but it's not that quick. So if those are near each other on the dial, that could be a way to do a quick change. Or if you have a custom, I think you can put custom settings on that and some of your custom recipes. That might be a quick way to change from the standard to a custom setting, or know that it's 3 clicks or 4 clicks once you get muscle memory. But overall, I can see that as potentially being a con and a waste of space on the camera if it's not something you use on a regular basis. So just to give you a little bit more of my thought process around, will this camera be a camera that I purchase? Again, we're talking about the X-T30 that's been recently announced and is on pre-order. But as I'm evaluating my overall kit, again, I'm thinking about cameras that fit a specific use case and purpose, not buying a camera just for the sake of buying cameras. So save yourself some time. You don't have to worry about throwing in the camera and say, he's just a gearhead, he's just a collector, he's not an actual photographer, all that kind of stuff. No, I mean, I'm thinking about a use case for this camera and how it fits into the mix. But also, so my journey right now is I'm really looking at fully going in, committing to Nikon. But I do need a camera that I can do a lot of video content with and that can predominantly live on the tripod and stay set up for this little YouTube setup. So I don't have to take it down and set it up every single time. I can just kind of live there, which again is what my Fujifilm X-H2 is currently doing, but I think that's overkill. So I'd like to sell off the X-H2 and then replace it with something that would be my go-to video-centric camera and would stay predominantly there. I've considered that being the Nikon ZR that they recently announced, but again, for a $2,000 camera for YouTube, I think it's probably overkill for my needs. But it could be the solution for if I get into other video work for my day job or other stuff that I get more into video work. It could be a reason to use it for that purpose. But I am strongly considering something like the XS20 to be that camera, because it does have some functionality. Like if I would hold up a lens right now, it'll focus on the lens as opposed to staying focused on my face. And then when I take it away, it'll stay. So it has some of those algorithms and things built into it that would be great to use. It also has a better grip than some of the other cameras, but it does have that fully articulating screen. So I kind of don't like it for photo and street photography. The other factor for me right now is I'm having a really hard time selling my used Fujifilm gear. So the transition away from Fujifilm and to take that money and invest it more fully into Nikon has been a challenge. It could be the government shutdown, it could be layoffs, it could be the holiday season, I'm not really sure. I've never had this much of a problem selling camera gear ever before. So even when I sold my dad's Pentax camera system, it was relatively easy to sell that whole kit and all the lenses he had. But I'm really, really struggling to sell my Fujifilm gear right now. I've posted it not only on Facebook Marketplace and some local photography groups, which have always boded well for me and sold stuff pretty quickly. But I also have had stuff up on eBay for a long time and have not sold as there either. Plus, of course, I did sell one lens on eBay and the fee was 15% of the sale went to eBay. I'm like, not doing that again. Ridiculous. So anyway, that's another reason why I'm considering, I don't want to just give away the lenses from Fujifilm. I want to get what I think is fair market value for selling those and reinvest that into a kit. But in the meantime, hey, if I'm going to have these lenses around anyway, I might as well use them. And if there's a use case for me to be able to use the lenses for Fuji that I've collected over the years and used, purchased, bought over the years, then they shouldn't just be sitting around collecting dust. What's the camera that I could purchase that's not too expensive? X-T5 I think is ridiculously priced. X-H2 could go out into the world, but if I'm going to take a relatively heavy camera, again, I'm going to just grab my Z8 instead. That's why I'm kind of considering the X-T30 as an option, or an XS20. Those are kind of the two I'm narrowed down to. But another pro, I guess, that I didn't mention earlier is that the price point for the X-T30 is coming in right around $999, which is still not cheap, but it's one of the cheaper options in the Fujifilm system and lineup. The XS20 is pushing more like $1,400, although I have seen it as used in very good condition on places like B&H for closer to $1,200, but that's still $300 more that I'm not sure I want to throw into a camera. So that again is where the X-T30 is very tempting to me as a camera option, although it doesn't check the video box. But I could get an X-T30 and an XS20 for the same price as the Nikon ZR. So that's another consideration, is I can pretty much get those two cameras, fulfill my video need and my portable street photography / travel camera needs, and not get the ZR, or get a Nikon Z6 III is the other camera that's on the short list. That's a do-it-all, smaller camera, smaller sensor, but at the same time is still bulkier than those other Fujifilm cameras I mentioned, and is also at a price point that I could get both of those cameras for the price of that Nikon. So that's what I'm debating right now, just to give you a little bit of insight, if you care. Maybe you've stopped watching already, but of why I'm considering this camera and why it might end up in my bag. So stay tuned for future videos of where I may finally have made a decision and or have sold off some of the gear that helps to lead me in a direction or another. But thanks again for watching, and hopefully you got some value out of this. And again, my perspective, as maybe you're also considering whether the newly released Fujifilm X-T30 version 3 is the right fit for you or not. As I mentioned earlier, I appreciate the subscribes, appreciate the likes. Those help the algorithm so more people see this and we can continue to grow this channel and grow this community. But I also appreciate any comments down below. Love interacting with all of you. Thanks, have a great day, and have fun shooting. Talk to you again soon.